For a while now, real estate speculation has been a looming threat to Chinese capitalism. The real estate bubble has been forming for some time now due to China's very quick recovery from the global economic collapse. The problem is that this bubble is too large and is threatening to burst. Many are worried that this will have the same effect that the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis caused in U.S. markets. The Chinese government has responded by tightening credit within the country. This means less credit is being made available as factories are beginning to close throughout the country. In fact, the manufacturing sector is taking a very big hit, especially in the Dongguan region. The two major factories have closed, leaving thousands and thousands of people without work. In June, two major plants in the region closed, putting more than 2,000 people out of work. As if this injury was not enough, the owners of these textile plants closed shop without paying the debts that they owe and leaving millions in unpaid wages left unpaid. It's very interesting to see the capitalists who extort wealth from other people and claim they have a right to or are entitled to because they pay people at least something for their labor, and then turn around and then not even give that. I think this starkly shows what capitalism is all about and the sense of entitlement that is held by those who perpetuate capitalism as the capitalists themselves. The closing of such two big factories is shaking investor confidence in the market. And now China has responded to the wave of closures by tightening credit or having less liquidity available. Now, this restricting of liquidity is also making investors even more skittish, having an even more negative effect on the market. Now, the less people believe in the market right now, they're going to start pulling money out of it, and less investment in the market is going to weaken it even further. Remember, the actual stability of the market is less important than people's perception of the stability in the market. The Xinhua news agency has already reported that 10% of the textile industry is already under threat of bankruptcy, making the entire situation much worse. In a very typical manner, this increasing hardship is being blamed on the working class. The Association of Small and Medium Businesses in China are blaming the increase in minimum wage for the increased difficulty businesses are facing. This is very laughable given the poverty level wage that Chinese workers are given. Barely enough to survive, and often not enough to survive, and the capitalists are claiming it's too much for them to bear. Hearing capitalists complain about the supposed hardships remind me of a quote of Lenny Leonard from The Simpsons. That's one less ivory back scratcher. As more and more of these jobs are disappearing, more and more working class people are becoming destitute. Upwards, there are tens of millions of unemployed in China right now due to the difficulties, and the Chinese government has already publicly admitted about the growing social unrest that is nearing a boiling point. There have been several incidences of major strikes by workers, protests from the workers against the government against the treatment that they had received at the hands of businesses, and not to mention the massive truck driver strike that recently took place in the shipping regions. The Chinese government responds to these social pressures by giving a vinegar and honey approach. First, they apply the vinegar by sending in riot police and the military to shut people down, beating people who protest, arrests, all kind of harassments, fascist controls over microblogging sites like Twitter, and control over social media like Facebook. Then they turn around and give the honey approach. They give very, very small, almost insignificant reforms, augmented by promises of getting the money owed to workers that they are owed. Of course, this money and these reforms that they're promised almost never come and are hollow promises. Here, a major contradiction in capitalism is becoming more and more clear. Western firms who purchases these commodities from China, primarily American but other Western countries as well, are refusing to pay more for these items in this difficult time. Now, the Chinese businesses are having a difficult time balancing their books. Now, what happens is because the Western companies won't pay more for the goods that they're purchasing, what happens is the Chinese businesses have to cut costs. Now, they cannot change how much they pay for electricity. They cannot change how much they pay for raw materials or the machinery that they use, the constant capital, which is why it's called constant. What they can do is raise the rate of exploitation on the workers, which is why workers are called variable capital, because they can change. So what we are seeing here is in fact a double exploitation of the workers in China. One, they're not receiving the full value of the commodities that they produce. Two, they're being made to pay for the hardships of capitalism. The Western firms are not taking more money out of the pockets of Chinese businesses. They're taking more money out of the pockets of the workers in China who were already dirt poor because of capitalism to begin with. Here's an example from a Chinese report. An Apple iPhone retailed for $600 in 2010. Now, the cost of the components was $187.50, and Foxconn, the company that actually physically produces the commodities for Apple, received $6.45 per iPhone. That means Apple profited $406.05 per iPhone. That's a 209% rate of profit. This is the super profits of transnational capitalism that we've been experiencing. Now, this is an astounding rate of profit. Even if Apple doubled the amount they gave to Foxconn, it would have an almost negligible effect on their own profits. Thus, Foxconn has no choice but to raise the rate of exploitation on its workers. This is something Foxconn is very good at, and they have possibly the single worst human rights record for a corporation in history. The conditions there are so bad that last year, 14 young workers committed suicide. This year, 3 more have committed suicide. When somebody signs up to work for Foxconn, they are forced to live in a dormitory, a single room with no air conditioning and often no window, leading to an inhuman amount of heat. The only air conditioning that is ever provided is at workstations, so thus encourages people to go and do overtime. Now, when signing up there, you're forced to sign a piece of paper that says you promise you won't kill yourself. Conditions are so bad, people are killing themselves in there, and they have to come up with a legal cover for it. If conditions are so bad that people are killing themselves with it and they have no choice, they have to take these jobs because of the tens of millions of people that are unemployed, it should be some sign that there is something wrong. Not only that, if you sign up to work for this company, which you have to because you can't find any other work, you are forbidden to have sex and sign an agreement saying that you're not allowed to have sex. This way, the troublesome situation of women getting pregnant and thus having to take maternity leave is completely avoided. Not only does capitalism driving people so hard that they're killing themselves, they're literally trying to stop life itself in order to make more profit. The inhuman conditions faced by the Chinese in the working sector are reaching a greater and greater boiling point every day. Even the Chinese government has publicly admitted that it's near an exploding point. Hopefully, this pressure upon the working class will cause the workers of China to stand up once again against the ruling elite and overthrow them. The phony Communist Party of China is completely incapable of resolving the social contradictions faced by those in the country. Only a revolution, a genuine bottom-up revolution like the one led by Mao in 1949 will solve these contradictions and bring China back to the socialist glory it once had.